They took control, the books are closed. We can't look, no one knows what they're doing, what they're making. They just say, hey, we're banking banksters or gangsters. That's what I'm yelling. They own your reality and control your salary. They got $1 billion in the ceiling and $1 billion in their office, $1 billion in their bedroom, and it's locked in the closet. See, it ain't a problem to control who makes a profit when you're the ones cutting all the holes in our pockets.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Peaceful Anarchism on the Voluntary Virtues Network every Thursday at 1 p.m. And you can also find me on theconsciousresistance.com and theseedsofliberty.com. So today we have Blooded the Brave coming in from Indianapolis. He's a rapper and a voluntarist. He's on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Soundcloud, iTunes, and YouTube. And we're going to discuss his recent album entitled Peace and some of his the big recent videos Against the Odds and Banksters. So Blooded the Brave, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here, man.
So sure, yeah. So I've heard a little bit about you, from some of the pages on Facebook, and I'm like, who is this guy? It's, really awesome stuff. Like I love to interview rappers who have this message because it's such a great medium to transmit the voluntarist message. And I think rap in general is a little bit like already subversive, like going against the status quo, criticizing the status quo is already ingrained in hip hop, right? So it just completely makes sense for volunteers to be rappers. It's like some of the rappers don't go all the way, right? Whereas like
nope.
People like you go all the way, which is awesome. So I guess can we start off with how did you become a voluntarist, and what led you down that path? Any books or podcasts, and then how you incorporated rap into the message.
I don't even know if people know what being a voluntarist is. Like most people. And hip hop in general, like when you first hear it, or any music that's about rebelling and being free, that's kind of where voluntarism falls in the line. So, I knew I wanted to be free, and I didn't want to have to answer to anyone, if I'm not harming anyone. That's what got me into it. But yeah, the first rap line I ever heard was broken glass everywhere. And it was, somebody talking about the horrible conditions of their society. And it really caught my eye and mind. And I grew up in a musical household. My brother was in a metal band he still is, 30 years. But it was rebellion has been in my blood. I'm full-blooded Irish. So it's just who I was. And then to find myself down the line of years of growing and learning, which we're supposed to do, I discovered the message of anarchism, which is to be free, meaning no rulers allowed, and you rule and own yourself. And it's a beautiful thing to own yourself.
Oh yeah, definitely. Is there any books that really influenced you, or personalities or podcasts?
Yeah, I'm more digital. I have some books. Chaos Theory, I have that book. It's good, but I was a former activist for Ron Paul in 2008, and I actually won as a delegate. Now that I don't believe or even see the government for existing, I was supposed to go to Tampa and be part of that system that they still operate government. But really, as far as anarchism, Larkin Rose is a huge influence of mine.
Oh yeah, awesome.
He's a genius. It's just the obvious, stating the obvious, driving by the obvious. We all know we're free, and we already know these things. So it's just great to hear somebody say them and say, well, I already knew that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I firmly believe that we're all born anti-authoritarian, maybe not understanding the anarchist philosophy or voluntarist philosophy, but
right.
in innately not feeling like there's a difference between an elder and you and a child, right? There's no difference between authority and you. We're all human beings, right? But through corporal punishment, through authoritative parenting, you understand that it's beat into you that there is a difference. You're inferior to the authority figure, right? You have to be quiet. You have to respect your elders, even if they don't deserve respect, you have to respect.
Yep. Yep, you are supposed to obey at any and all costs. And if you don't obey, they'll make sure that you learn to obey again. And you weren't even doing anything, like, for instance, you were feeding the homeless.
Yeah.
But that's illegal, or you were giving someone a hug as a kindergartner, and that's illegal. A child giving someone else a hug, he gets reprimanded for that. No, that's not the case. That's not illegal. That's not true. You're free to do so.
Yeah, right. Feeding the homeless, or growing a plant in your backyard, or having the wrong type of salad in your pocket.
Right.
Can land you in jail for decades, right?
Exactly. And it's not a joke to them. It's not a game. And so it's not a joke to them, then it's not a joke to me. I'm not playing around about being free and my dedication towards what I do with my music. It's not a joke. It's dead serious. It's fun. We have a blast in my shows, but me personally, I'm working tooth and nail to make this happen. So more and more people can feel what I put in my music, which is to make them feel alive and free,
Yeah, definitely. So tell us a little bit about the Banksters video and the message behind that.
Banksters was put out about a year or two ago, but Banksters is basically they own your reality and they control your salary. The Banksters. People are not aware of the effects of our monetary system and how it works. And I decided to make a music video just cutting to the chase and letting everyone know how we're all controlled by the same system of control, which is we all go out every day and our blood, sweat, and tears is measured and value by a system of control. It's not free market regulated. We don't get to decide what that product's worth. It's regulated by other people who do not have our best interest at heart. And usually they are the culprits for most of the wars and famine we face. These people are not joking. They are banksters, are gangsters. That's what I'm yelling. They own your reality and control your salary. And I just wanted to put it out so everyone could get on the same page. I like to bring people together because we're all controlled. There's no difference between all of us. And we're all in this together. So I wanted to really just put out a song something that we could all look at and say, that's what we all face, really? And just make people think a little. And in the video, I used a lot of footage from the Icelandic peaceful revolution they had against the Banksters.
Right. Yeah, they imprisoned the bankers, didn't they?
Yeah, yep, they sure did. And the IMF was a part of that. The IMF, central banks, the Federal Reserve, the World Bank, they're all in on it. And Greece is going through it right now with the IMF. And just for people out there who are watching this who might not know, the IMF, International Monetary Fund, they will come and help a country out and say, yes, we'll give you your money, but we are entitled to some of these resources that you have here after we take care of you. And the reason that these countries are in trouble in the first place is usually through IMF and World Bank regulations. It's not a free market. We don't live in a free world. So they create the problem to get the solution they want. Yep.
Hegelian dialectic, problem, reaction, solutions, the classic formula for government control. But one thing you said was, the people that control, the people, the political masters, as well as the bankers in the central banks, they don't have our best interests in mind. And what I would say also is, even if they did have our best interests in mind, like even if you go in there, I genuinely want to help people, there is really no way that you can use the current system to help people, right? Every time you interfere with peaceful people engaging in voluntary interaction, you will always cause harm. Always.
Yes.
There is no way that one man can, or even a small group of people, a couple of hundred people, can predict and know what the billions of interactions will be on a daily basis between millions of people or billions of people.
That's right.
It's impossible, right? So that's one
That's
thing,
right.
So it really doesn't matter if they do or they don't have our best interest. They can't do good.
Yes. Even if they have your best interests at heart, if they're involved in this system, it doesn't matter because it won't work. It doesn't help anyone.
Yeah, yeah, and
It's the truth.
and when I talk to people, in the street, like when I take my kids to the playground or to the park or to the library, and I like to talk about try to introduce people to voluntarism. Although I don't say anarchists, of course, that would be a horrible way to start a conversation. I don't even say volunteers most of the time. I usually start off by talking about economics, right, the monetary system, because most people don't understand it, number one. Number two, they don't get offended because it's like, it's just money. How can you get offended by talking about money? Like, you're just talking about what does money mean? What's fiat currency? What's the precious metals? What is inflation? Most people don't even understand those basic concepts. And so when I discuss that, it's a great illuminating experience. And people are like, and then slowly you can kind of edge anarchy into that equation.
It's the best. It's the best. It's the only way to do it, because I don't want to turn anyone off from the fact that they're being used, abused, lied to, and controlled.
So yeah, that's usually how I start conversations is talking about the monetary system, because there's so much myth and misconception associated with that. Like even in my in the economics class at my high school, I remember they don't talk about much about Austrian type economics. That would kind of be self-defeating, right? In a government school, talking about Austrian economics, it's more like the Keynesian. However, I'll say this: my teacher, my economics teacher, he did introduce us to a few things that I remember. First one he introduced us to is the Robert Kiyosaki book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, which came out in '97, and I was like in that class in '99, so. But I didn't pay any attention to it because I'm like, what's this? Not important. Right. And then the other thing is he taught us about inflation. It is pretty interesting. The way he did it, he asked the kid, it was like seventh period, so right before you go home. And so he asked the kids, anybody didn't have lunch, right? So one kid raised I didn't have lunch. So he said, over there's a box of donuts. Go over there, eat as many donuts as you can. and then later he's like, all right. So tell us 1 to 10. How was the first donut? How delicious was it? And so it's like, it's awesome, 9, 10. And then as he goes down, like he's like, oh, it's getting worse and worse because I was getting more full. So basically illustrating what supply and demand is, right? And as you have all this supply, demand usually goes down. And the more of something you have, the less in each individual unit is worth, right? So I thought it was a great illustration of supply and demand, and that really stayed with me. And also the other thing is, one more thing I'll say, he said the most powerful man in the world, he asked, what does everyone think the most powerful man is? Like, well, the president. No, the most powerful man is Alan Greenspan.
He did say that. Which is the head of the Federal Reserve. So that's pretty good.
And it didn't even register. Like, who is Alan Greenspan? And I didn't really understand it until like years later studying.
That's good that you remembered that, though. So, that's good. That's real good. Yeah, no, that whole system, and people have to go through it. There's people that, make a stand and homeschool, but, we're all told that we're the problem. All of us. And my music is to counter that and let people know, no, you're not. Because on Earth Day, everyone is, hey, save the Earth and blah, blah, blah. And I'm the one saying, now, these people telling you about Earth Day are the same people who destroyed the planet. It wasn't me and you. Yeah. I know you feel bad about doing it, but if we would have used hemp, we would not have had to destroy the rainforest. Yeah. And I mean, in 1929 and 30s and 40s, Henry Ford had cars designed out of hemp that, could withstand, more than any car today. So I'm here to counter any of that and let people know that they're not the problem, because everything we're told, we are the problem. It's bad.
It's true. And I come from a family of fierce Democrats. And my mother actually claims she's a socialist, which is interesting. She's proud of it, but in our circles, that's an insult, right? If you say you socialist, that's kind of
she doesn't even know what it means. She doesn't know. She doesn't know that government is responsible for the most murders in the history of the world. She doesn't know what the word democide is.
Yeah, democide.
And once she finds out what democide is, she's gonna not be a socialist.
Yeah, and
she's probably a good woman. Like most people are good-hearted. They take advantage of people's good hearts and play on them.
It's true. Oh, it's so true. I mean, I think, although government statism is based in fear, right? That's how they get their control, by instilling fear of other people, of other countries, other cultures, other religions. But you're right. It's basically about good intentions. Like people, they go out to vote because they want to help the poor, right? They want to help the sick. They want to help the elderly, right? So we all have good intentions. The problem is the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? So good intentions is not good intentions with ignorance can produce a lot of destruction in the world. you know, like Hitler had good intentions, right? He wanted to purify the human race.
Yeah.
And look where the good intentions happened.
The last person anyone should turn to for help is the person who created the problem.
And the problem with that, when you point that out to somebody, is they'll give you their government school history as proof that the government is good.
Right, but we do live in an age where, 5-year-olds can pick this up and learn for themselves.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, me, myself, I don't know about you, but we'll just go in, I mean, personally, I went through all that. You went through all that. What happens now is kids get out, and they have their their real education starts when they get out at 18. And they get to learn for themselves. And that's about what happened with me and all my friends who were involved in this music. And we wanted to be free anyway. And when we got out of high school, we all basically went on into our own path of discovery. And we discovered so much about that we didn't know. And the message of freedom was part of it. After 9/11, we all got a real wide awakening. We had a clue. But that's really what shook all of us up. But it happens to everyone. And then now with technology, you can look it up on your own and find out what's going on. Who's this person? How did that happen? And you don't have to hear just one source. You can hear many different sources and find out for yourself.
Yeah, I definitely think that technology and the progress of the age of communication, the digital age of information is what is going to render government obsolete and irrelevant, right? Because it just can't compete. Like government cannot compete with the marketplace at all. It can't compete with people trading, people creating, making new new ways to communicate, new ways to interact with each other. It's like it's a dinosaur institution, and every government agency is a dinosaur institution. Like public schools, for example, getting worse and worse, year after year. Yet people still believe that if you want to get ahead, you have to go to public school.
Well, they've been sold and told to fear that it's the only way. And I live in a county here in Indiana that the last couple of years they say vote yes to raise your taxes to keep the schools alive. Woo. And people go out proudly and vote yes to take more of my money by force so I can keep the schools alive. And what I finally got some people to understand this year is you do realize that if these schools went away and they collapsed, we would still have schools.
I know, right?
Well, what do you mean? And I'm like, people will have their children educated. Do you want your kids well, yeah. And I'm like, we will build them and we will educate people, or you will educate them on your own. And we will have sports teams and we will have bands. And these people have been taking your money and doing nothing with it but flushing it down the drain, giving your kids less education, less food, taking away all their programs, and you still want to throw money at the fire. Instead of just letting it go out and do it yourself. And it's empowering when people do get a glimpse of what we're saying. They really feel like, you know what, I could do that. I could do that. People can build roads. Wait a minute, we could build schools. And it's funny to see that little light, and they want to go back to, no, I need them. But deep down, people know we could do it on our own.
Yeah, the funny thing is when you talk to people that have this very powerful bond with government, and they ask the questions like who will educate the kids, who will build the roads, who will defend, provide defense, protection, security, things like that. The very fact that they're asking those questions most likely means other people have similar questions, right? And so if other people have similar concerns, that constitutes a demand, right? So if there's a demand for something, there will always be an entrepreneur to capitalize on that demand because that's how people make money. They find out what people want, and then they satisfy it. That's the beauty of the marketplace, right? And so people have to realize, you don't need violence or theft to get things done. Like, that's such a barbaric way of interacting with your fellow human being, right? But
It is. It is. That is you stated that perfectly. Because if it's out there and it needs to be done, someone will fill that and do it proudly and offer it at a great service. And guess what? If they don't do it to your standard, you actually have a choice and can hire someone else to do it instead of being stuck with the same person day in and day out. Same company. I mean, government. They're not a company. They offer you the same service. Like, I'm pretty surprised that FedEx and UPS are allowed to exist. I mean, years of the post office finishing millions in debt.
Billions.
Billions. And FedEx and UPS making money. I'm so surprised that the feds allow them to still exist, because they just point a glaring picture at what government is. They're a failed dream, idea, and institution.
Have you heard of Lysander Spooner?
No, go on.
Okay. So Lysander Spooner, you should look him up. This guy is really awesome. He's a 19th century anarchist abolitionist, and also anarchist. And he started what's called the American Letter Company, which competed with the USPS at the time. Did you hear about that?
Yes. Go on.
Yeah. So at the time, USPS charged like $3 for a stamp, right? And which was a lot of money in those days, right? And so he decided to open up his own company and charge 3 cents per stamp, right? And of course, he became, people really popular. People flocked to him. It was a great business model. Of course, very efficient, very smooth. Because it's private business, right? He understood how to allocate resources, how to move his capital. He understood it, and he did an excellent job. And USPS tried to shut him down by like suing him, right, various ways, and he came out on top most of the time. But eventually, they did forcibly shut him down, and then they enacted laws to prohibit anybody else from competing with USPS, right? So the thing with USPS is they have a monopoly on mailing pieces of paper. That's their monopoly.
Wait a minute. You mean government has a monopoly on something?
I know, right?
That doesn't happen. They don't have a monopoly on force, right, or
exactly.
They don't have no way. There's no way they would do that. They care about us. They would not do that.
And the funny thing is, people really think, though, so if there was no USPS, you think nobody would be able to move pieces of paper around.
Right. And like my music is very charged, and part of freedom is defending yourself, and I hate seeing people brutalized, murdered, or hurt. And, I have to explain to people, you don't think we would still have a peacekeeping force if we didn't have the police? The difference is you would be able to hold them accountable, because right now you can't hold them accountable. Mm-hmm. They do what they want and they investigate themselves. We fund it and they run it. It's that simple. But yeah, we would still have everything we have now, and we would have better versions of it. Because we want good things. We're humans. We want to be warm. We like good things. I don't know how people have accepted the idea that everyone wants bad things. No, there's a couple people that are bad and would want bad things. And if we lived in a free society, they would be left alone and no one would interact with them, and the market would take care of itself, and those people would just be left alone to be horrible people, while the rest of us thrive.
Ostracism is a beautiful thing. Right?
It's a beautiful thing. I mean, if we had a free market, I just tweeted something out. I said, if something is boxed in or held back, don't act like you know what it's capable of. We don't know what we're capable of as people. We don't. We've been boxed in. There is no reason why we couldn't. I mean, there's no limits to where or how we could be living right now. And I'm here to stand for that, talk about that, and fight for that, because there were people way back in the day that did that, 1918 to now, that were pushing the envelope of technology and freedom, and they proved that we could live multitudes of ways and have a lot. I mean, this is a sign of how far we can evolve, and we can go much further. We're going to. We're not going to be stopped. It's going to happen.
Oh, yeah. That reminds me of a quote, which is... A bird that's born in a cage thinks flying is an illness.
Correct.
You know, it's
Hey.
like the government is one giant broken window fallacy, right? or Bastiat's, you know, seen in the unseen. You know, it's like people, you know, when you talk about government and you know that we should do away with it. You know, they're like, but look what it did. It gave us public education. It gave us NASA. You know, it gave us this awesome military. Are you saying that that's like that we could do that on our own? I'm like, well, that's what you see, right? That's all. That's the only thing that you see. But what you don't see is the potential that has been annihilated because of the force that was enacted in order to rob the people to fund those things, right? By force and coercion. You know, if you, you know, we have no idea where we would be. Maybe we'd have flying cars by now. Maybe we wouldn't even need roads. Like,
No, exactly. I mean, there's no reason why we couldn't be doing. And people need to take themselves to. That's why kids are awesome. Kids have imagination. You can tell kids to look out on that road and ask them, "How do you see it? How would it be built?" And just let them go and let them talk, because they're not. What they say is not insane. They're being real when they have imagination, because we start with imagination and then we bring it to fruition through hard work and a free society. We could have those things. There's no reason why we couldn't.
yeah, exactly. And the other thing is, you know, I've read some people say, like, if there was a button that that could, you know, shut off government like night and day, you know, would you push it? and I think that one thing that doesn't really take into account is people kind of think that government is the buildings, is like, you know, the jet fighters, is the bombs, is, you know, the Department of, you know, the IRS building. That's government. No, government is a state of mind. It's a mentality, right? Statism is the belief in authority, right? So if you destroy all those things, but you don't educate the people, they're going to create it again. You know, it's like you topple one dictator with a violent revolution. What do you think is going to happen? Another dictator comes around, right?
It's very true. And during all these revolutions going on around the world, I make sure to tell people, you know, eliminating one form of the problem and replacing it with the new version of it is not going to help. And like in Egypt, they've had 3 revolutions in the last 6 years. They have a revolution and then they install the same thing that was the problem beforehand. Right. It's going to be endless. It's just going to keep going.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I mean, the problem is like you know, when we learn in our history books, government history books, like, you know, we learn we're the good guys. Hitler's the bad guy, right? It's always us, the good guy, and Hitler's the bad, or other people are bad guys, right? But and I think that's looking at life so black and white, like a, you know, false dichotomy type. Like it's almost like a sports team. It's like us versus them. Like, we're the good guys, they're the bad guys. Somebody has to be the good guy, right? But I think a better way to look at it is, no, it's this violent authoritative regime versus that violent authoritative regime, and basically whichever has the biggest guns writes the history, right?
Yeah, instead of whoever has the best product, or the, you know, basically it could be a world where whoever has the best product shines, who works the hardest shines, who's great to other people shines. We could live in a world like that, and that's who people would want to do business with, because that's who we want to do business with. But we don't live in that world because we think, and we're told and sold, that it is okay to be ruled by force, that we need someone else's permission to be free, to live. You know, I'm free. I have all the papers to prove it.
Yeah, right.
I got them all. I got 11 different licenses to go fish.
Yeah, exactly.
For you know, it's no, that's not the case. That's not how it works. That's what and it's a risk. I'm an artist. I get that. But I love people, and I'm not going to give up on them. And I care about them so much that's why I talk about this. I don't want to see them taken advantage of.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here. And that's why I do what I do.
I also wanted to ask you about intellectual property and what's your views on that? I kind of know what you're going to say, but I just want you to...
No. You probably don't know what I'm going to say. Like intellectual property. And so the difference of intellectual property, copyrights. Well, as a famous rap artist said, maybe the best rapper ever to live, Nas, he said, "No idea is original. There's nothing new under the sun. It's never what you do, but how it's done." I sell music. You can get my new album online on iTunes, but my product takes care of itself, and I have no problem with what they call bootlegging. I don't believe in copyrights.
Of course. Yeah, but that's one thing that my brother, who's 23, like I talked to him a lot about voluntarist philosophy, and he's kind of learning and understanding it. But one thing like it's really hard for him to understand is how voluntarist rappers can be against intellectual property, and it's like that's yours, that's your stuff. What if somebody copies it and tries to make money off it?
If they copy it, they copy it, and it's their version of me.
Yeah,
like we're all influenced by, this recipe I got from whoever down the street. It's not hers. I put my soul and blood, sweat, and tears into this pie. She gave me the recipe, but this is my cake.
Yeah.
So, there's really no such thing. It justifies people who are afraid of evolution. I know people are scared that people can take what they work so hard on and use it to their advantage. And here's the deal. If you made something and someone else puts out the same version of it, your product better stand out and be your product. And you shouldn't be worried about someone else who wants to take your idea. As a matter of fact, that is a sign of flattery. That's them giving you a shout out. That's proving that you paved the way. That's proving that you are doing something right. And no, I mean, I have you can go on my SoundCloud page. I have 30, 40 songs up for free download. Well, on top of my new album Peace, you can buy it for $10 on iTunes. But I'm going to give people something for free to entice them to come to a show or, buy an album or buy a T-shirt online,
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to tell a story about intellectual property. I think it illustrates well. Monty Python, the British comedy show, I think they were popular in the 80s or something, right? The 80s or 90s, something like that. And when YouTube came out, some people started uploading their, I guess portions of the movie onto YouTube, right? And then YouTube kept shutting that, kept taking down those videos because of intellectual property or copyright violation.
Yeah.
And then finally they the people from Monty Python, they're like, all right, we won't go after them. Let's just let them post and stuff. And so what ended up happening is the teenagers that never ever heard of Monty Python or never grew up with it started watching this is awesome, and their revenue went up as a result.
Yep. That's right.
It's like you would rather less of your product be disseminated and distributed, because you're afraid that somebody might use it for their own, advantage or try to sell. So you would restrict the access. It just doesn't. It doesn't make sense. I mean, there's ways there's unforeseen ways that people make money.
I have a vague story about my new album, which is called Peace, and the A is for Anarchy. And basically, I'll just say this: I took an image that was well known and gave it life because that's what my music is about. And it got out there, and the message got out there, and the original artist actually hit me up.
Uh-huh.
And I was flattered. I was like, oh my God, I didn't even know they existed. And I looked for this original artist. And the first message, instead of, hey, we're in this together, I can't believe, it's great to see someone giving this life. The first message was a direct threat to copyright and that they were going to sue me and burn me down. And I have nothing to show for any of that. I'm an independent artist who, is going against the grain. I got all odds against me with what I talk about. That person should know. And I was giving their image life. They hit me up, and I could have made their image relevant again and their name again.
Yeah.
If they would have, done it in a peaceful manner. And instead I had to delete, shut down, and dissimulate that image that I was using to help promote the message that they were already advocating in their message. It was crazy. It was weird.
Yeah. you know Cal Molinay?
No.
From Liberate RVA.
Who is that?
He's an anarchist in Richmond, Virginia, and
Okay.
he basically goes to the universities over there, and he sets up his sign. Ask me
I've
ask me why government is immoral.
Yes, he's great. I love that guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he does
yeah.
really great stuff. So
I love it.
on his website, when he posts, on his YouTube, when he posts his videos, he has the intro, and he had a song called Anarchy, right, by this
Okay.
group, and I guess he didn't ask for their permission, right, when he posted a sample of it, and he's like, it says anarchy. These guys must understand the anarchist philosophy. So they contact him, and again, just like you said, very threatening, and say, what, this is copyright violation. How can you do this? And so he was forced to take it down, and YouTube took down a bunch of his videos. But he was basically showing the hypocrisy of making a song called Anarchy.
That was the weirdest part of what happened with mine, because my that image that I'm talking about is actually still used, and it made sense. That's what they were talking about, and I felt really bad for and I didn't generate any revenue off of it at all, and anything I generate revenue off of with who I work with, I give them the money. That's how it works. They're part of creating it with me.
Yeah.
Tell that guy I'll hook him up with the intro song, so he doesn't have to worry.
Awesome. I'll let him know. All right. So what? Why don't we talk about your other video, Against the Odds? What's the message with that?
Against the Odds is the new music video off of the new album Peace. It's the intro track, and the basis and premise of that is anyone who's less than 13 years of age has been living in a cage. Because since that day, they cursed us all when they blew them up and we watched them fall. If you are alive and you're 14 years or younger, you've been living in a world at war. Period. Point blank. 2001. And now we live in a world, the world at war. The war on terror is real. And I just made that video, and you got to watch it. My nephew did an amazing job. He's awesome. He did a great job, and in that video, actually, there's a gym. He's watching in a car a clip from a 1988 cartoon of the World Trade Center blowing up, and he's watching that, and he's watching the news, and Syria is blowing up, and he's asleep, and he's having a dream, and he is constantly scared, which is what they're doing to these kids. They live in a world at war, and they're all afraid. They want these kids to grow up afraid, so they turn to them for the answers. And it's sad. It's horribly gut-wrenching to see free, beautiful minds grow up to be constantly afraid of anything and turn to their masters to protect them, when that's not the case. I mean, you're free. We're all going to end up one day perished. So why live in fear? I mean, this is it. We got one life. We must make the most of it. Instead, they have everybody boxed in, controlled, and trapped. And I touch a lot in my music about 9/11 because it affected me directly. And the problem, reaction, solution we talked about earlier with the Hegelian dialect, there's plenty of evidence to link multiple things that have happened in the history of the world where they created the problem to get the reaction they want so they can enact their solution. And their solution is perpetual fear, and we're going to pat down your grandma. We're going to have TSA agents at the bus stop now. You're going to be scared all the time, and we're going to protect you because the boogeyman wants to blow you up. Even though ISIS and North Korea don't have a military jet to their name or anything that can actually get here, you just be afraid because something might blow up at some time. So just constantly be afraid of everyone and anywhere and give up any rights you ever had to think or be free. It's terrible.
Yeah, and it's true. I think ISIS, doesn't have a navy or an air force, that stuff.
Yeah, so if they get here and they do that, people need to remember how did that happen? I mean,
right.
Made in the
USA, right?
Right. Who trained Osama bin Laden? We trained him.
Yeah,
I mean, his name was Tim Osman. I mean, get out of here. We're not dumb. Who trains these people? Who
Yeah.
They don't just show up. It's sad to see little children grow up afraid all the time. I had one kid back in the day tell me, "But 2012 is coming. We're not going to live past that." and I looked at him and I was like, what the,
Wow.
you know, I felt so bad that he had to go to bed with that. Could you imagine?
Yeah.
I mean, that's grueling, man.
Yeah. Fear is the foundation, it's the underpinning of statism. And yeah, definitely, it's like I think H.L. Mencken he said, it's like government fabricates these these boogeymen and hobgoblins, and none of them are real, right? It used to be, it used to be Hitler, right? Nazis, right? And then it used to be the communists, right? Then it was the Cold War, right? And now it's the terrorists. Now it's the Muslims.
Wasn't it Al Qaeda, and then now it's and the other part is who created the problem. Like, I mean, for instance, we invaded Iraq, destabilized. It's called blowback.
Yep.
We created a massive, powder keg of people who never really got along in the first place, and then you get what they have now, and they're good with it. But it goes on worldwide. They put brother against brother and sister versus mother, and it's horrible.
Yeah, it's really sad, and I think it illustrates also a double standard of government, which is like they can rob people, right, steal from people and call it taxation, right? They can print money, counterfeit, and they can call it currency creation. They can go overseas and murder people in mass numbers and invade their country and call it the war on terror, right? It's not mass murder, it's not genocide, right? When you have a nice uniform, a nice shiny badge, and a gun, right? It's the issue from. It
depends who's doing it. It's a peacekeeping mission.
Peacekeeping, yeah, right.
Now, there's some disturbing statistics out there that are facts that people can't deny. I mean, it's bad, like 600,000 or 900. I mean,
yeah, I think it's close to a million. Close to a million Middle Easterners are dead or wounded or affected.
And what people got to realize is this is what they call collateral damage. Innocent lives, me and you, people who are not having anything to do with the war. They just blow them up because they're part of it.
Yeah, and then you have the drone strikes, which let's say they even hit one, militant extremist. It creates like 20 other militant extremists because you have the family members that are grieving, and they're like, "God damn it, I hate America!" And then what are they going to do? They're going to pick up a weapon and try to.
And it usually costs them 13 innocent lives to hit one of what they call a so-called enemy.
Yeah, right.
and you might be an American citizen traveling, and they might blow you up, and you don't get a trial.
Right.
Which happened as well.
Did you see the American Sniper movie?
No, there's no way
I know, right?
No. There's no way I could see that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a way I could see it because I understand. I think I know the art behind it. I think that I think the movie was created to play with people, to see what they worship.
Yeah.
I heard was that Clint Eastwood?
Yeah. I heard actually that Clint Eastwood has libertarian leanings, and that his intention with the movie was not to glorify war, was actually to show the horrors and atrocities of war. And what actually happened is in a lot of Americans, it hardened their patriotism, their nationalism, and their hatred for the Muslims, right? For the Middle Easterners.
Well, it did, but it also, I mean, it's a sick trick. I don't know if it's a trick. He just showed people what they already were inside. I want to show people what they are inside by pointing out the good in them and showing, I know that artistic angle, I get it, but it doesn't work. It's I'm not here to blame us for something we didn't do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There was a Louis C.K. You know Louis C.K. the comedian.
Yeah, yeah. He's great.
He said this pretty awesome thing about the war on terror. He's like these soldiers, they go overseas and they come back broken and nightmares and PTSD and everything. And we're like, oh, that's horrible. And then or wounded, like wounded from the war, right? And then he's like, maybe if you are the one to invade another guy's country and then you get shot, maybe it's a little bit your fault. It's like you go over there, invade their country, kick down their doors, murder the kids, murder the women and children. You come back, oh my God, I'm feeling horrible. I have nightmares. It's like, really?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I laid that stat out the other day to someone on Memorial Day that, 22 veterans killed themselves a day.
Yeah, right. Suicide, right. Yeah.
I mean, people cannot handle that statistic. They say they care about the troops and they care about their country and this false entity of this thing that gave them freedom when it didn't. They're already free. And when you tell them 22 dudes that went off to fight for you kill themselves every day because of the horror that government put them through, they can't swallow it. It's too much. And I get that. Yeah. But I'm here to remind them of that. The truth is harsh and can be cold, but it is liberating.
Yeah, definitely.
In the end, you are liberated. And I mean, we've all had things we didn't want to know told to us, but we really did need to know it. You might have been living in denial to think that this was a certain way, but when you find out the truth, you're free.
Yeah, one interesting response when you talk about voluntarism to people is, well, if we don't have a military or a government, what's to stop China from invading us? What's to stop Russia from invading us? What's to stop, pick an X country that's a boogeyman? What's to stop them from invading us? And I think that's like a fundamental misunderstanding of government, which is basically they're saying the whole of Russia wants to invade the United States. the whole of China, everybody in China wants to invade the United States.
Don't.
No. Most of the people in China, they just want to go to work. They just want to
they want to go fishing. They want to do what you want to do. They want to go camping.
They want to raise their kids. They want to, put them in a good school. They want to educate.
Yes.
They don't want to invade another country. It's the sociopaths, the megalomaniacs in power that want to do all the invading and killing and murdering. So stop believing in them.
Yeah. And it seriously is like if you stop believing in them, they go away.
Sure. Oh, yeah, definitely.
And that's where another aspect of my music is people who misconstrue it and think I'm talking about some crazy armed. No. I'm talking about walking away from the people you prop up and they collapse.
Yeah.
And then you walk away and you work voluntary with other people and you live free. Because people in China and Russia want to just live. They don't have a desire to come over here and do some crazy. We don't have those desires. The people who rely upon us to worship them and rule us by force, they want those things to happen, and they make those things happen. It's not some guy. And the unfortunate thing, what you said earlier about the drones is, and like I've been involved in many peacekeeping and all types of causes because I care about people, and I'm full-blooded Irish, like I said, and I knew about the division in Ireland as a child. I'm adopted, but my mom and dad taught me about it, and they put brother against brother in Ireland, and the same thing happening in Israel, and I knew about Palestine and Israel. I had Jewish friends growing up, and I had Middle Eastern friends growing up, and it's terrible when you bulldoze someone's house or you drone their cousin. They're gonna want to do something. So we got to walk away from the fact that these people are allowed to do whatever they want because they say so. Because they're only creating people people who are upset about it and will react. That's not good.
Yeah. The desire to put people in power over, a select elite group of people that have superhuman rights that we do not have is a very dangerous thing, right? The belief in authority, like it reminds me of the Stanley Milgram experiments. Have you heard about that?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's some awesome, really earth-shattering stuff because it really illustrates human nature to a great extent, how we are all who have gone through public school taught the importance and the crucial nature of believing in authority. That authority knows best. Authority is always looking out for us. Truth comes from authority. Intelligence comes from authority. Knowledge, everything comes from authority. Do not think for yourself, right? If you have a question, you ask a teacher. Ask an authority figure, right? And that's one of the major reasons why my kids will not be going to government school, among other things. That's one of the reasons, is that, the way I parent is I try to teach my kids. I try to treat them as equals, which sounds revolutionary to most people. It's
that is revolutionary.
They're my friends. They're my equals.
Yes.
I'm not superior. Maybe I'm older. Maybe I'm stronger. But that doesn't mean I'm more right? And I do make mistakes. We all still make mistakes, right? So we have really no right to impose our arbitrary will onto another human being, right? Regardless of
and especially in a learning state, when children are learning. I mean, they're opening their whole minds up how they're going to be the rest of their life. So why would you want to box it in now? I mean, holding kids back and telling them it's this way just prohibits. And that's why I said earlier, when you when you get out of that system, you have a reawakening to where you're like, wait a minute, I actually can do this. I mean, nobody told me I could run. They told me you could run your own business, but I have a niece, and she's grown up in this world of technology, and she's in middle school. And I tell her by the time she's 18, she has to have 3 businesses because she can. She knows Outlook Express. She knows every iPad situation and all these programs. Some kids play games. She understands money and numbers, and I guarantee there's not one teacher that tells her that she could run an empire by the time she's 18. But there's a kid who created an app for a BlackBerry in another country 5 years ago who's sitting on $2 million. It's because he believed he could do it. It's a difference.
Yeah. And public school does not encourage creativity or imagination, basically creates workers and, people who obey orders, right? You as a child before school, you obey your parents, right? In school, you obey the teachers. Then you leave, you obey your boss. You're always obeying, right? Somebody, and it's really it's not a situation for growth, intellectual advancement, right? So it's amazing how revolutionary it is when I tell people, no, actually, I just want to encourage whatever they're interested in, and I want them to pursue that. Like, what? what if they don't learn how to read or write or do geometry? Or I'm like, well, if it's not applicable to their lives, what's the use? Like how much? Like, think about how much information exists right now, right? Like from the beginning of written, books, how much information is in existence? Now, how much of that is irrelevant to our lives today? Right? Like who really gets to choose what arbitrary things are taught and what's important? And, that's completely arbitrary.
Right.
You can't,
No. And I mean, if you're with adults working all the time, eventually it comes up that you don't use a majority of what you're taught. And it has nothing to do, no disrespect, with the teachers who thought they were doing good and all these people who, it's just the truth, man. You didn't do anything for me. You taught me how to conform, how to be a part of a collective that I wasn't. I was my own person that I could not even find because you had me entrapped in this. And that's why some kids during school do rebel, because they don't want to be a part of it, but they're held there by force. It's jail. I mean, track 10 on my album is called Control, featuring Arjuna from my label mate Strong Roots Records, and the outlaw Josie Wales, the anarchism activist, if you know her.
Nice.
She's on there talking.
Oh, is she?
And
Cool.
It's about the school system, and we got a music video coming for it. But it's about the school. It's about this, is you cannot be yourself. You cannot be who you want to be. It is jail for children. And if people out there have ever seen Josie's video where she talks about the school system, it's quite remarkable. But my song on there is just a playoff on that. But shout out to Arjuna and Josie for getting on that song with me.
Yeah, that video, I think it's called "The Prison by Any Other Name." It's an awesome video. That's when I talk to people about homeschooling and about government school, the nature of government school, and they're receptive to hearing it, then I send them that video. Because,
yes, that's great.
Because
that's great.
if you were to send them that video first, it's kind of a slap in the face, and they might get offended, right? You got to give them the background, like. like, no, actually, there is a lot of parallels between prison and,
Yep.
and what you said was good. You said that the teachers have good intentions, right? And again, going back to good intentions, most of us have good intentions, right? There are, sociopaths and psychopaths and murderers and rapists, but for the most part, I think people have good intentions, right? People go into public school as teachers because they want to educate kids, right? The problem is it's an inflexible and oppressive system, right? And it doesn't tolerate people doing whatever they want to do, right? If you deviate from the curriculum, you're not going to be treated nicely by your superiors.
That's right. If you want to learn what you want to learn, you're a problem and will be dealt with.
Yeah. So the problem is, and I think this is helpful to illustrate to people is that, we're not out to vilify individuals, right?
No.
Individuals can change, they can learn, they can improve, they can grow. It's the philosophy of statism that we seek to abolish, right? And government, That's all it is. It's a mentality of, thinking that some people have special superhuman rights over other people that can rule and have the moral right to rule, right? So I think that's good to point out.
Yeah, I don't hate I do not hate anybody, wish ill will on them, judge them. I do not judge people. I get it because I was there. That's the other part is I know, and I'm still learning. And I can't blame someone who was held by force or held hostage who, doesn't understand or get it all. But the best part is when you find common ground with those people and you do have that moment at your job or wherever you're at where you look at each other with a group of 11 people and you all realize, I never use algebra. That was complete waste of time. And then you get a little smile on your face, and then you might, slide in some things about the control system, and a couple of them you might slide a video or a song, and they say, you know what, I really like this, and it's like, and that was my goal with that song on the album. Nebby Moon, he's a producer. I got to give him a shout out. Amazing producer. He produced my whole album. Up and coming young guy. He's got a child, and I knew, let me just send you the crux of this album. And I kept sending him songs, and he was producing. But I sent him Josie's video, and out of nowhere, he sent me back a beat with her sampled in the song. Where she's talking in the hook, and then I rapped over it, and he was just, it opened him up to what voluntarism and anarchism is. Because he believed in freedom too. Yeah. And a lot of people out there do. They're upset. A lot of people are mad at cops shooting 12-year-old kids and all these horrible things going on. But they need to see who created these problems. And I'm mad love to you for doing what you do, and everyone out there who has the courage to, because we care about people, to show them, who's doing this. I respect the heck out of people like that, man.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny that you said, we do it because we care about people. Because one of the attacks that many of us get, and I've gotten this too, is you just hate the poor.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You hate the old people. You hate the sick people. Why do you hate the poor so much?
I love them. I hang out with poor people.
That's funny.
Way more, and I want them to be successful. They got great ideas. I want to see be able to thrive, but they can't thrive right now because they're boxed in, and they got everybody on their system to keep them in check, and they rigged it. They rigged it from the jump. They gave you a number when you came out of the womb, and you didn't even get to make a decision or consent. You're in their system right from the jump. That's not right. That's not freedom.
Yeah, and the problem is that, again, good intentions, right? People, when you don't have an understanding of economics or philosophy or morality, even, you're gonna have a tough time really trying to help people. It's like people understand. They understand like day to day, like if I help somebody, if somebody is like, fell down, let's say, if I help them up, okay, I'm going to help them. If I rob them, that's not going to help them. And that makes sense on an individual level, but then you expand it to include a country, and all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, if we rob people, how is that going to help people? Wait a minute. It's like people have this conception, like at some point, the laws of morality are different. They're inverted, right? Or the laws of economics, right? It makes sense with your family and your close friends, but not with somebody who lives in California. No, that person needs to be controlled because that guy is out of line.
Nope. The non-aggression principle and the golden rule apply, and it's the best. When people get a whiff of that, it's amazing because people believe in the golden rule. And I mean, I don't have anything to do with people who want to run for office, but when Ron Paul in front of 16 million people on a Republican national debate said he believed in the golden rule and was booed.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
That lets you know where the world's at. And that was just people in the audience, but I do believe most people do they really care and they do appreciate and want to do good things to others because they know it'll come to them. And I mean, if you want to harm other people, then that's going to come to you too. Really, that's what we're looking for is a world of where those people get weeded out. We're looking for a world of accountability, and we don't have that right now. Right now, you can do what you want and get away with it if you have a certain title or a badge, or you wear a certain costume. You're better than other people. That's not how it works. You don't get special privileges or rights to do what you want without being held accountable. Nobody should. There's no gods on this earth. You're not a god. You don't get that treatment. Sorry. Sorry, I don't worship you. I don't care what suit you have, how many endorsements or billions you have, or how many speeches you get. No, I don't worship you. We don't worship you.
Yeah, we separated religion, church, and state a while ago, but somehow religion has morphed into statism, the state itself.
It's way more scary. It's the world's most dangerous religion.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. I mean, people, we constantly, place our faith in these people, these sociopaths that claim again to have our best interests in mind, when in fact, as we explained earlier, even if you do have the person's best interest in mind, there is no way you can help people. No way you can help millions of people in the minutia of of interaction on a daily basis, And the other thing is, people have to realize that we already, to a certain extent, live fundamentally anarchically, right? Much of our lives is dominated by anarchy, right? Nobody tells you what to wear, what time to wake up, what job you have, what profession, what friends you have, or what significant other to choose. But like if, for example, the government started saying, we're gonna pair people by law. Right. And all of a sudden, people are like, that's horrible, that's ridiculous. But the minimum wage, that makes sense.
Right. Because minimum wage, it makes sense because they have nothing to do with the value of $1 already, or what you're worth.
Yeah.
They don't have anything to do with that at all. It's totally free and regulated by this product's worth.
Yeah.
So they should definitely tell you what you're worth.
Yeah.
People do not know that their dollar bill, I'd pull one out of the drawer, is the same as a monopoly dollar. They don't see that they're the same. As long as it says Federal Reserve note, it's an IOU from a bunch of murderers. That's it. It's an IOU. I'll pay you back from people who, do horrible things to other people. That's the last person I want to trust with paying me back. Right. That's not real money. That's not going to happen. It's not money.
Right. And what's the primary mission statement of the Federal Reserve is to protect and stabilize the U.S. dollar. Oh, wait. How good has it done that mission? Okay, let's see. 1913 to today, lost 98% of its value. All right. Good job, Federal Reserve.
Yep. You've done wonderful. That's great.
So one thing I want to just mention before you go, you mentioned murder. And how that brought to mind one thing that people tell me is that without government, what's to stop people from murdering each other, right, or raping or robbing, and the thing is, like we were talking about the law of morality, right? Natural law, right? There are natural consequences to your decisions, right? You don't need to go to jail. Or to have a law making murder illegal. That's one of the redundant laws, right? Theft is illegal, murder is illegal, rape is illegal. Oh, another great one is suicide is illegal, right? So these are completely redundant laws. Like there are natural repercussions to theft, rape, and murder, right? That would most definitely exist.
That would be taken care of and would happen.
Yeah.
No law, the law itself, a law, doesn't mean anything. I mean, you can just make it up. I made a law that, you can't own this, you can't have that. That, especially what you were talking about, killing. murder, well, no doubt it's illegal. It's horrible.
Yeah.
You know, something's gonna happen if you do that.
Exactly.
And the craziest part now is they say you're paying your debt to society.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Okay, I'm sitting in a cage, not doing shit. Actually, it cost a whole bunch of money for me to sit in there. You know, more of the money that we stole from you guys, you're paying for me to sit in there. That's not paying your debt to society. No. And if people have morals, or you know, people don't, you know, believe in the death penalty or whatever, how do they pay their debt back to society? I mean, why can't someone just pay it back and work for you?
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's effective.
I mean, putting someone life in prison is like, it's like that person murdered your relative, and so the solution is to continue robbing the family members to pay room, food, shelter, clothing, board, medical. Hey,
you know, that's his punishment. That's his punishment.
That's his punishment.
You know,
so basically, a socialist paradise is what prison is.
The prison system is insane. I love when people bring up prison for profits or whatever. I don't care. All I know is that they have their parties and their fireworks exploding on July 4th, and they should go to YouTube on July 4th and watch my new music video, by the way. That will be coming out on July 4th, to celebrate their freedom when this is the most prison populated place in the world.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you're free. You know, celebrate. And don't worry at all about the non-violent, you know, no victim, no crime, the person who harmed no one who's sitting in jail. Don't worry about them at all. Just have your barbecue, wave your flag, and you'll be good to go. And you don't have to worry about anything.
And get back to work on Monday.
Go back to work on Monday.
Yeah. Don't say anything. You know, don't criticize the government. Just go back to work.
Yes.
Everything's taken care of. The experts are in control. Don't worry.
No, I feel bad. My music is for the people who don't have a voice, who are sitting in those cages, who did, you know. Yeah. I mean, it gets to me. I deal with it every day, and they go unheard. Everyone forgets about them, and there are people locked away who did nothing to anyone but themselves.
Exactly. Well said, definitely. So, all right. So I don't want to keep you any longer, but so why don't you let people know any links, any music videos you want them to see, or where they can find your work?
I have a website, bloodofthebrave.com. You could go there. I have free music, tons of music videos, interviews, apparel, albums. Excuse me. I have cassette tapes. I dropped an 80s album last year.
Wow, cassette tapes?
Yeah.
Seriously, some people still have that?
Oh yeah.
Holy crap.
I have a new, this 80s album is called Born to Rebel.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, it features a lot of your favorite 80s music that I rap over.
Those are from the older generation of people.
Oh man, this stuff is new. I mean, yeah, I put the new twist on this. You can't, yeah. And my new 80s album is going to be even more crazy. But my recent album is Peace. It's through Strong Roots Records, produced by Nevy Moon. We take the new modern hip hop and we crush it. And I'm a part of a good collective and a humongous scene here in Indianapolis that is doing really well with the music, and it's awesome. It's an honor to be with people like you who are down with freedom, and I appreciate you having me on. But it's bloodofthebrave.com. People can go to my YouTube channel and get your mind blown with some HD visuals.
Awesome.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And if any of you copy some of his work, he'll send you a personal thank you. So we won't try to sue you, okay?
No, and I will ship you the album to your door if you go to the website and order it online. You don't have to buy it just from iTunes or Spotify. I'll actually ship it to you.
Cool, awesome. Yes, Voluntaryist Rappers is the way to go. Spread the freedom message to a whole new audience. Excellent. Thanks. Thank you very much, Blooded the Brave. Beautiful conversation. So if anybody wants to donate, help out my show, you can donate through Bitcoin or PayPal. If you really want to send gold and silver through the mail, be my guest. I don't really trust USPS, but you can try. So awesome conversation. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
All right. So
appreciate it.
This is Peaceful Anarchism on the Voluntary Virtues Network. Wishing everyone have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye.